I'm Connie Moser, and I'd like to welcome you to another edition of Knights of the Round Table. My guest tonight is Denny Daugherty. Denny,
Hey, Connie.
thanks for coming tonight.
Thank you.
Denny is the president, the newly elected president of the Committee of 100. And you can just start in anywhere. If you'd like to tell me just a little bit about yourself personally, that would be good, because I'm going to ask all the questions about.
Okay, Connie. Well, I've been in Prince William County since 1987.
Uh-huh.
I work for the United States government as an attorney, and I came to this area back in the 70s to work for a member of Congress from my home state of Louisiana. And now the president of the Committee 100, which is a group that, like this program, engages in community education. And it's something I've been interested in for a very long time. Back when I was in college, I ran what was called the Current Events Committee of our student union. Brought speakers to the campus, put up displays, showed films, otherwise to help educate the educational community what was going on in the world and how different people took a look at the issues.
Was it a debate format or just?
It varied depending on the topic. It was
Sometimes there was a debate whether you meant to be or not?
Absolutely, absolutely. We had we put up a display of photos concerning Iran, only to have the Iranian students educate us that they were not Arabs.
Oh.
And that we had misdescribed their culture. So, sometimes we're on the learning end as well as the educating end.
Well, you've been with the Committee of 100 quite some time, but this is your first term as president, right?
This is my second term as president.
Oh, second. Uh-huh.
I've been with the committee has been around for 25 years, established back by a couple of guys, Bill Masbrook and Dale Hooper, 25 years ago, and I've been involved about half of that time.
Well, I'm fairly new to that venue. I think I've been coming. I think this is my 4th year that and now I'm going to do some publicity for you. So I hope this is the beginning of that. But it's an interesting format. You get people from all sides. It's nonpartisan. And the subject matter is a wide range. But I know this fall you're trying to gear up for political discourse. Do you have anyone in mind, or?
Well, we had hoped to have the candidates for governor face each other before our forum. They've just made other decisions. So we're now pursuing the candidates for Attorney General and Lieutenant Governor, and hope that we can arrange for the Democrat-Republican nominees for those two offices to face each other, respond to questions, and give the voters a chance to compare them side by side. So.
Well, typically the way the program runs is that each candidate has a certain amount of time to tell a little bit about what they are about, and then there is a moderator who will sort of lead the discussion, and then at the end of that there is some time for question and answer from the audience.
And with the candidate forums, that's the bulk of our time is given over to answering questions from the audience. We collect questions in advance and try to select a wide range of issues to be asked to both candidates. That way we ensure that the questions are suitable for both candidates. They're not focused on one candidate and asking, why did you stop beating your wife? But we have comparable questions on the issues. And we've been usually have someone moderate those forums from the news media who are accustomed to dealing with slippery politicians and trying to make sure that we get answers to the questions that are posed.
I made the comment the other day through an email. We were trying to nail down the interview, and I said it was like nailing Jell-O to the wall, and it is. It's not. I don't think it's deliberate. No, they're not deliberately slippery, but there is just so much.
Well, it's always challenging to put together. Usually we have a panel of 4 for our issue forums, but it's especially difficult to line up candidates who are running statewide or even in a congressional district, because oftentimes their strategies differ. One of the candidates feels like more public exposure and is to their advantage. The other candidate feels like more public. He's drawing an audience for his underfunded opponent, and why should I do that? And so for the last 10 years, we've been trying to get the top of the ticket, be U.S. Senate or governor, to face off here. And inevitably, we find that at least one of those candidates doesn't find it to their advantage to come to Prince William, which we think is very unfortunate because we're a very large jurisdiction and a swing jurisdiction these days in the outcomes of elections. So it's not prudent, I don't think, for the candidates to pass up the opportunity to be seen. But inevitably, in every election, one candidate says yes and the other says no, and they keep going to the same old places they've always gone instead of here. We've had more success in lower ticket races in the past. 4 years ago, we had the candidates for Attorney General face each other at Verizon Auditorium, and so we hope to repeat that this election cycle.
And are you looking for a larger venue for that? I know we typically rotate between 2 spaces within Prince William County, but for a race this size, do you need a larger venue?
We certainly would have for the governor's race. We're still looking at what would be appropriate for a lieutenant governor or attorney general forum.
I see.
We talked to the Prince William Chamber this morning about co-sponsoring an attorney general event, and so they'll have a say in what that venue is. But we do try to move our programs around. Our usual venue is the 4 Points at Sheridan over in Manassas, but we try to balance that by going to the eastern end of the county, frequently have programs at Westminster, which have been always well attended.
Believe me, those of us that live over here appreciate when you have those. It's about, I'm in Dale City, so it's about 40 minutes in traffic.
We have a big county. We have a big county. I think what we do is important, just as this program is important, because so many of us don't spend 24 hours a day here. Lots of us commute to work somewhere else, and so our ability to keep up with what's going on in our community is challenging, particularly with newspapers not publishing as often as they used to. And so the opportunity to hear an issue debated by those who are directly involved in it from a variety of perspectives helps us understand what's going on and how we can have an impact.
Well, I think it too, I don't know, maybe I'm just a little bit paranoid, but most people feel that the majority of news sources lead you in a specific direction. They have a focus that they're working on. And when we interview people here, or when we have candidates at the Committee of 100, we're not doing that. We don't have any particular objective in mind other than education. And so I think that's good and healthy, and I wish there were more opportunities to do that. So this is the 25th anniversary year for the Committee of 100?
It's hard to believe, but it's been 25 years.
Do you have something special in mind to celebrate, or?
We'd settle for 100 members. We call ourselves the Committee 100. That was apparently at the time we were founded a pretty widespread movement. There were lots of committees of 100. But our goal is to reach that 100 figure, and we certainly will be looking for the opportunity to look back on our history and some of our greater achievements of the years. And 5 years ago, when we had our 20th anniversary, we heard from a lot of our past presidents, and it was quite interesting to hear how the committee had evolved over that time.
I also belong to Local Pelt, and on their, I don't know what anniversary it was, I want to say 30th, they had a little soiree at the county center, at the McCourt building, and the Board of County Supervisors came and past supervisors came. I thought that was really not just endearing, but it shows the merit in public service, that people respect you long after they've gone on to something else. They remember that you worked as citizens to do something good for the community. And that's really the heart of this.
Well, our founders have established a good reputation for us so that we can get the speakers that we are looking for to speak to the issues. But I think one of the other benefits of coming to our meetings is meeting other active citizens. I used to be, back when there were newspapers, I used to be an active writer of letters to the editor, and it was interesting to meet the person who responded and countered my letters, person to person, sitting at a dinner table prior to a forum. Get a chance to get a more well-rounded picture of the people who are trying to influence the decisions being made about our schools, about our roads, and other things in the community.
It is. It's almost networking in a more, not a highbrow. Is that a good? That's probably not a good term. It's a more intelligent fashion. Most of the networking we do is just meet and greet and exchange business cards and on to the next thing. But here you have an opportunity to sit down at the dinner table with someone you don't know and get to know them. And it's really, I think that is one of my favorite parts about it. That, and we tackle some pretty interesting topics. Would you like to share some of the...
Well, our last topic was on the subject of use of robotic aircraft in law enforcement, and that's an issue that's time has come. It is not immediately here, but we had a speaker from a local firm out at Manassas Airport who's very active in building robotic aircraft. We had a spokesperson for the Virginia Associations of Chiefs of Police who came in and gave a law enforcement perspective. Had a young lady from a nonprofit group that advocates for privacy, particularly in the electronic arena. And we had a state legislator who had sponsored the legislation putting a moratorium on such use of drones in the state of Commonwealth of Virginia, other than for very rare situations such as rescues and so forth.
I think that that particular program really brought out people have lost trust in their government. They've lost trust that the government is going to do the best thing for you, and I think that's a shame. And I understood why that legislation was put forth. I understood the point of view from civil liberties and privacy issues, but I don't expect that everyone is out to misuse that. I expect that they are out to use it to the best advantage, which would be to locate Alzheimer's patients or lost children or any number of other, people lost in a canyon. You can track them down with a drone where you might not find them for days if you were just on foot. So,
but I think the point we kept hearing from all the panelists is that we have the opportunity before it becomes commonplace to lay down what the rules are, what are appropriate uses, what are not, as opposed to having a court resolve it after many years of misunderstandings for different expectations in the public. So I thought it was one of an exceptional program. In which I think the panelists showed a great deal of respect for each other and their point of view, and they seem to be genuinely seeking to work together to produce legislation that would establish a common framework for regulating this new phenomenon.
An interesting side effect for me, I don't know if it affects everyone that way, but some issues that maybe they were barely on my radar, but once you've been to a forum and have heard the debate, the good, the bad, and had a chance to think about that, then from that point on, you're constantly aware. Every time you see a news article, every time you hear something, you remember what you saw and what you partook of, and you have a unique perspective. So it's not like we're so bombarded with media, constantly exposed to television and radio and internet, and it's a calming atmosphere to be able to sit down, relax at the dinner table, and really listen instead of feeling like you're assaulted with information. It's so much you can't process. Were there any other programs in particular you wanted to mention, or just?
Well, I remember the one that I think that you helped us put together on human trafficking as being one that really put a face on an issue that most of us occasionally read about, think about being something that's very far away, but it's right here in Prince William County, and that's the common theme we try to have, is to look at an issue, regardless if it's bigger than us, but to look at it from a Prince William Manassas perspective. How does it affect us? What are our interests in it? And so we've taken issues that are bigger than the county, the sequester, for example,
Yes.
and looked at what its effects are going to be on services here, on military and military contracting. What is the effect going to be on the larger economy, and even the biggest picture of all, is it going to contribute toward resolving some of the major budgetary issues?
Well, it depends on which end of the budget you're on, I guess, but from my end of the budget, it's not solving anything, it's making some problems. Since February of this year, it's been making some problems.
Well, and so we had, I think we may have even had 5 panelists. We had such a difficult time. It seems like everybody was being quoted on it, but very few people wanted to accept our invitation. So we were sending out lots of invitations to get our panel of 4. And one day we had 2 panelists, and the next day we had 5.
Well, I don't think people realize that, but because we try to do topical, we want the hot button issues. Those are the ones that people have questions about or maybe aren't aware of yet. But it's incredibly difficult to start out one day and accumulate a panel of speakers and a moderator and a location and take reservations and make a dinner menu all within 30 days. It's really, and get the word out so that people know you're doing that.
Well, we've got a very committed base of volunteers. We've been very, very fortunate in that regard. We need more. I'm not the only gray hair in the organization. There are lots of us who've been doing this for a long time, and we need some new ideas, and we need some folks who have contacts in other parts of the community that aren't taking advantage of the opportunity to see the decision makers and hear what's on their minds.
Well, we hope that everyone will visit our website, the Committee of 100, Prince William, PWC, say that for me,
PWC100.org.
Okay. Denny, thank you very much for joining me tonight.
Connie.
I hope you'll come back again sometime.
All right.
And to our viewers, we'll see you again next time when our guest will be Justin Wilk. Thank you very much for joining us.